And good evening, everybody. I'm Jared Smith with the Carolina Weather Group. We'll be joined in a little bit by James Brierton and Charlotte, but wanted to come on and talk a little bit about storms that are happening right now. We have had potential pretty strong wind gusts come through the Charleston metro not long ago. Um, Storms tomorrow. We have a slight risk of severe thunderstorms along the coast of North and South Carolina. So we're going to get into all that. And let's just get right to it, shall we? So let's go over to put me in the corner. Let's go to the high resolution radar here. Zoomed in on the Charleston area, and right now we see um, pretty heavy downpours actually beginning to move in right into the metro area here, coming over West Ashley, where I am. It's probably sounding pretty loud outside at the moment. And this guy is, and these storms are headed eastward. Let me get the storm motion off of that. And the storm motion is all right. So there we go. So yeah, these are moving about 30 miles an hour to the east here. And a couple things to note. Some fairly gusty winds are heard for the potential of at least maybe a little bit of strong winds coming through the Charleston metro area, maybe 45, 50 mile an hour gust possible. And This is now headed towards the ETV weather stem cam. So I'll try and get over there. Zooming out a little further on the high res radar, you can see have a kind of a stratiform area of rain behind this. This line actually regenerated quite nicely once it got over the waters. And is continuing to move east. Not seeing much in the way of lightning from this, but again, these are fairly shallow storms. Tops really 19,000 feet at best. So again, not the deepest storms that we've seen, but they're enough to pull down some strong wind gusts. Another interesting feature here. Ever so slight little pockmark of rotation, maybe some stronger winds coming through West Ashley right now, down Highway 17 into headed towards downtown. There's a little bit of an inflow notch here. So this is going to be one that's going to be, I don't see any immediate concern, but I'm certainly going to keep an eye on it as we go. So let's switch back to, let's go regional here. And here's the satellite and radar and everything here. You notice you get up into North Carolina, pretty quiet for y'all right now. Nothing too bad. Maybe some showers moving up into Charlotte. Some breaks in the clouds over here in Raleigh, and we'll go to the infrared because the sun is beginning to set to give us a little bit of an idea of what we're dealing with a little bit better. It's worth pointing out as well that we have a tornado watch in the Panhandle of Florida, and this is where the strongest thunderstorms are going to be. And again, the severe risk today is marginal. I know that we joke sometimes that marginal risks are, sometimes a little bit in the way of, kind of our higher risks days. We've had some very busy marginal days. Right now, today does not look like one of those days, which is very good news. So let's see. I think that was James trying to join. Not sure how well that is working for him. Again, he's going to be coming in over his mobile here. Yeah, looks like we're getting him. Again, we'll see how this goes. All right. So yeah, let me bring him into the conversation. So yeah, so here's James in Charlotte. James, can you hear me? And because I see you. And yeah. I think James is still getting a couple things straightened out here. I'm gonna there we go. I hear you, man. So let's so we'll get into that in a minute. Also worth noting, we're starting to see I wouldn't necessarily call them thunderstorms. Again, not much lightning, but Florence, Kingstree. Again, these could produce some gusty winds as they move through. But a widespread severe weather event is not expected. Again, let's go to the day one outlook real quick, and you can see the Marginal risk of severe thunderstorms, generally in South Carolina. General risk of thunderstorms, nothing too severe up in southern North Carolina. This is going to be a little bit different for tomorrow. So we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. But again, some stratiform rain moving in, nothing too crazy. Rainfall amounts. Let me look at the. I'm just going to kind of take a look over the last. Let's go over the last 1 hour here. Not much to write home about. Some people may get a quarter of an inch or two, maybe a half an inch if they're lucky. Again, we're in a drought. That drought is continuing to get worse. So, James, can you hear me okay?
I do not hear you very well, and I don't know if this Bluetooth is working or not. This is our experimental Friday Night Drive preview show.
I kicked up the gain a little bit on my mic. Maybe that helped.
No, it's not you, my friend. It's
Okay.
on my end. So you do you, and if I'm just making too much background noise, you just get rid of me.
Roger that. Well, we'll let James get that worked out again. This is kind of an experiment that we're running today. As kind of the root of this is that James and I usually at least 3 times a week have a phone call while he drives home from work. Today we decided to televise our phone call. So that's the idea. Let's go back to reflectivity here. Worth noting that we've got a whole line of special marine warnings associated with the kind of the reconstituting squall line. Again, gusty winds, potential problems for mariners here. Starting to see some lightning. Got another look over here at the geostationary lightning mapper. Starting to see some lightning develop with these. So again, these are headed offshore. These are not going to be a concern for us. Right now, the main events really are in the Charleston metro area up through Kingstree and Florence. And again, that severe risk continues to be very low. So let's go back to the high res radar one more time. And you can see strong winds coming through there. Going to check on that little eensy-weensy bit of rotation we had, but it's not there. So, and again, that can happen sometimes. Sometimes you get some intersection with the sea breeze or just some enhanced low level vorticity for reasons that are impossible for weather models to resolve. And sometimes you get a little bit of a quick twist that makes you, perk up a little bit, kind of puts a jolt in your Friday evening. But again, these are all moving off pretty quickly. And as we've gotten through, and as they get through, we go from 74 to 72 at the Charleston International Airport, 72 degrees at Somerville, 70 degrees at Monk's Corner. Further to the west, temperatures are right around 60 in Allendale, 63 in Walterboro. So again, we're going to get some rain cooling off of these, and as that happens, we'll be getting a little bit cooler tonight. But again, this reloads for tomorrow. And James, if you're in a position to chat, tomorrow is perhaps looking a little bit better for strong storms along the coast.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't get my Bluetooth mics to work, so I'm in a position to chat because I'm stuck in rush hour traffic and the noise will be reduced. But again, you just cut me off when it becomes unbearable. But yeah, we're just beginning to get the rain and the wind and the clouds here in Charlotte in the last hour or so. I'm on Billy Graham Parkway near the airport right now. It's cloudy, it's windy. I don't have rain just yet, but we're watching for that to come on through here. Where I am in Charlotte, the severe threat will be elsewhere. Will be south and east tonight and tomorrow, as you mentioned. So what we're left with here along the Charlotte metro area as associated with this next 24 hours will primarily be in the form of gusty showers. Windy at times, certainly, and that's what we're starting to see after a relatively nice Friday afternoon teasing me while I was in the office. I stepped outside to start the weekend to this grossness.
Yeah, that's what happens. And I mean, that's certainly what happens. I mean, today was on balance. Today was pretty good. It was a nice day. It was 78 at noon down here. We had some high clouds from the squall line beginning to filter in, but then, it's been a pretty decent day. Storms fired up maybe a touch earlier than we thought they might. But honestly, the timings were not too bad here. So And again, the good news is that we're not seeing many widespread reports of issues so far. So, all right. So let's I think James is frozen up. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to take the convective outlook for tomorrow. So this is this convective outlook graphic is kind of focused in South Carolina, but certainly gets North Carolina as well. So the coast of North Carolina, generally east of I-95, along and east of I-95, is probably going to be your best severe weather threat tomorrow. Places like Columbia and Aiken, kind of right on the edge of that. Florence, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Hilton Head, Somerville, Orangeburg, you're going to be right in there in that slight risk area. And again, the main concern from these is going to be damaging straight line winds, but a little bit of hail and even a tornado cannot be totally ruled out. So that'll be something that we're watching. The better risk for a tornado is actually going to be a little bit further north into eastern North Carolina, as they're going to have a little bit more time to destabilize. And they're also going to get the benefit of a little bit more favorable for tornado development positioning towards the low and the upper low. This is not going to be like Wednesday either. I think that's another thing to keep in mind, is that this isn't going to be like Wednesday night where we had a huge upper low barreling through and causing lots of hail. This is not going to be that. The upper low is displaced. What's up?
2 degrees.
Yeah. So what James is saying is that it does look a lot like kind of last week, and I think I think we're struggling with his bandwidth right now. So we're gonna keep he's got one of those. Oh, we lost him. So there you go. That's that. When we're trying, this is what happens when you try something new. But anyway, let's whoa, that's interesting. I've never seen it do that before. The radar, not the weather, to be clear. Let me show what I'm talking about here real quick. So yeah, there's a little bit of missing data on this cut from there as we bring James back into the fold here. James is still red, but I think we've had luck with this before. So just kind of showing everybody a little radar data anomaly here, but should resolve itself here in a second. What we can see in this cut, though, are heavy downpours coming across into downtown Charleston now, beginning to head towards places like Mount Pleasant, places like Wando, Ondaw, and these are going to head offshore at the beaches here. In fact, we have another cell that's kind of firing up right there at the beach, right there. So, James, I lost you there. Let's you were talking about something about Saturday, I think I heard something about temperatures.
I was saying this weekend in some ways feels similar to last weekend, in that tomorrow on Saturday morning we'll be looking at threat of storms in eastern.
We had you through eastern North Carolina, but yes, I mean it is going to be similar. I think one thing that's going to be difficult for tomorrow too, as I get ready to show you guys some of the weather model projections here. One of the difficult things that, at least in my forecasting for tomorrow, I've been talking to a couple farmers markets around here who have decided, hey, should I go? Should I stay or should I go? A lot of them are going right now, or not going. I guess maybe that wasn't the best turn of phrase. I think we're looking at more like, should I go? Should the show go on or should we postpone? And I'm starting to see some evidence that postponement is certainly a good option there. Let's see. Let me do the high res. That is a really old run. I cannot show that to you guys in good conscience. Something is going on with that. So I'm going to find another way real quick to show you all what's up. And I think we're going to lose James for the duration of the broadcast. So Thank you, James, for joining us. Sorry that the experiment did not work, but that's the nature of experiments sometimes, is that sometimes they don't always work. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go to other models like uh, when we get to when we get to generally places like Spartanburg, Greenville, Rock Hill, up towards the Augusta, Georgia metro area, Charlotte area, probably going to be just fine. You're going to get some rain overnight, maybe nothing at all. You're getting the rain right now, maybe a little bit more overnight, but the worst of it is going to be firing off generally in the coastal corridor ahead of a slow moving cold front. This cold front is hung up right now in Alabama. It is as of the Weather Prediction Center's 21Z analysis, it is beginning to come out of Alabama and is heading out of Mississippi and going into Alabama. So this is going to take a while to get here. It's going to take a minute to get that here for sure. So again, we'll be watching that closely as time goes on. Let's see. All right, so let me get back to this screen here. What I'm going to do is show y'all some weather models. Love to show people. There's one thing we love to do on the Carolina Weather Group while we're talking Carolina weather is showing people pictures of models and weather models, that is. So I am contractually obligated to make that joke. So I apologize in advance. So let me share a new window here real quick. And we're just going to kind of kick it old school. We're going to just do the College of DuPage here and get that grown up for you a little bit and go ahead and take it full. And maybe not totally full. There we go. And you can see here, let me give this one more zoom. That should do it. All right. So here's a high-res rapid refresh model 18Z. We're going to look at this. This is a slightly older run, but we're going to look at this for generally kind of an idea of what could happen tomorrow. So your cold front is roughly here. You can see my cursor. Roughly here, and we're going to move that. Actually, there's another way that I can do this too. We can just do, let's show y'all some temperatures. Let's do that because that's a good way to do it. We've had a cold pool come through and mix up the atmosphere to the west. So that looks like the cold front, but in reality, the cold front itself, where the winds are shifting a little bit more, is getting into Alabama. And as and we'll track that wind shift through. This is the thunderstorm complex that's coming through right now, off to the east. And as time goes on, we'll see temperatures in the coastal corridor generally warm into the 70s tomorrow. This is as of 2 o'clock. And so we'll see temperatures 71 at Charleston, possibly 74 at Myrtle Beach, 71, 74. Let's see if I can't get a better sector for this. Oh, let's do the mid-Atlantic sector. I think that'll be a little bit better. So South Carolina, you're on the bottom. North Carolina, you're on the top. And we'll kind of go through time here, and we'll see that when that wind shifts to the west, that'll be your sign that the cold front has come through. Looking at dew points, it's another way that we can find the cold front, probably an even starker way to do it. Very dry air lingers to the west, and that dry air will clear in, making for a beautiful Sunday. Sunday looks great. I'm very happy with Sunday. It's Saturday that I am less happy about. So let's do the simulated reflectivity again. And as you can see, this is valid at 4 o'clock on Saturday. The high res has some thunderstorms firing up along the front. Generally in southeastern South Carolina. Also of note that it is also firing up some more discrete storms in eastern North Carolina, and this is where the Storm Prediction Center believes the greater risk of tornadic thunderstorms could be. So again, you see these kind of isolated cells. Some of them you can kind of make out a little bit of a curvature here. the model believes that there could be enough shear to generate a few supercells there early in the afternoon. So that'll be something that we're going to watch closely um, before the cold front gets there. And again, we'll probably have a cluster of thunderstorms moving through the Charleston area and then moving offshore as as the day progresses. The cold front does not get through really until very late. The cold front's lumbering along. It's a slow one, and it's not going to get through until very late. So we mentioned that. I want to take another look. I want to take a look at another model too, because to give you a general idea of kind of maybe the range of possibilities here. Something interesting on the NAM here is that we still see some showers and storms kicking off along the front, but generally they look a little less intense. They look maybe a little bit less rainy, I think is a good way to put it. Go to 6 hour. We'll look at the 6 hour precipitation accumulation here. I mean, and I'll tell you, it's possible that some spots may not see any rain tomorrow at all. That is certainly a possibility. So something to keep in mind there as the rain gets through Saturday morning in spots, and then the front kind of kicks back off in the afternoon. But you see these streaks here. You see these streaks in the precipitation. That can sometimes be a sign that that we are looking at the potential for some discrete cells. So that again, that's going to be something that we're going to want to watch very, very closely as we go through the day tomorrow. So again, again, the severe weather risk, is not a slam dunk by any stretch of the imagination. There are multiple failure modes here. We've seen thunderstorms kind of break apart as they get to the shelf waters. Although today was interesting. We actually saw the thunderstorms firing up right along the coast, suggesting that the shelf waters were not as big of a hindrance. Typically what happens when we get squall lines is that they run into some more stable air, like a marine layer, and they tend to fall apart. That hasn't happened today. That definitely kind of the opposite of that happened, honestly. It just so happened that it was right along the coast and not maybe 5 miles inland. So we're seeing a little bit less in the way of impacts on that. Let me go back to the corner key here. Let me take myself full. And again, let's pull some, let's go back over some satellite data. And I should have satellite data here. Oh, there it is. And we'll pull that up, and we'll see that you have your deepest convection in Florida. This is where you have a tornado watch, and there have been tornadoes in Florida earlier today. So again, these are moving generally going to stay way south of us. We're going to be in a little bit more stable air up here. Let's look at the mesoanalysis real quick, and I realize that is probably the nerdiest thing you've heard all day. But the idea is that I want to see where the instability is. I want to see where the temperatures doing, what are the dew points doing, what are the winds doing. You can see a wind shift to the northwest accompanying the thunderstorm line here. We'll zoom in on the Charleston metro again. Down to 65 at Charleston International Airport now in heavy rain. So that winds have turned to the west northwest. Winds are out of the west at 14. Temperature still 70 at Somerville, but down to 63 now at Moncks Corner. And keep in mind that we were running into the 80s at one point across much of the area today. So before some of those higher clouds moved in, we had maybe a sliver of instability showing up, but the vast majority of that thunderstorm instability is well to our south right now. We're going to see some of that kind of creep up the coast tomorrow. And again, that's going to be where we're going to start having those concerns for rotating thunderstorms. Possibly some supercells, especially in eastern North Carolina, based on some of the high-res model runs. So that'll be something to watch. Again, we're not going to. Severe weather is one of those situations where it's impossible to know where it's going to happen. So we kind of paint with a broad brush, but in reality, just very few of you, if any, will see some stronger thunderstorms. So something to keep in mind. Be ready for it, but also it'll probably be all right. So that's always the fun part about that. But again, looking at the analysis here and looking at where some of where the surface cape is, let's look at the mixed layer. This takes an average of the first 100 millibars of the atmosphere. And again, pretty stable, not much fuel to work with, I should say, on there. And then we go the most unstable. Again, this is pretty much from any layer here, and you can see again we're not really doing too much in the instability department, which is keeping that severe threat down. Go back to temperatures here. You can see where that cold pool has come through. Again, you're back down in the 50s in Atlanta, in the 50s and 60s in the Augusta area, and that is going to push eastward. It's going to get chilly here before it's all said and done. So certainly something interesting. It kind of an interesting prelude to start as this thunderstorm cluster, which got started all the way back. It got started all the way back in Arkansas and Louisiana, and is making that eastward trek today. It caused it produced severe weather in parts of Alabama. We'll have to go back and look at the storm reports from there, but certainly has been an active day of weather across the Southeast. Zooming out a little bit, you can see where your front is actually quite nicely on the analysis here. You have the winds out of the west, and then you have some winds coming out of the south, and you see that big old dip in the ISO bars there. There's your front, and it's and again, it's going to push eastward over time. Surface lows all the way up in Illinois and in Missouri around St. Louis. That's where your surface low is, and we have a thunderstorm risk up there as well. You can see a severe thunderstorm warning out in western Kentucky right now, that little yellow polygon there. So certainly a decently dynamic storm system. And another thing I wanted to show you, talked about this, not really, the upper low is not really a factor here. And again, you can see that kind of in the water vapor picture. Have some drier air punching in now. There was some concern that maybe some additional storms would try to fire up behind this, but that did not end up happening. But your upper low, kind of your big upper trough, is, zoom out a little bit, it's generally around, generally in the Midwest. There's your feet of moisture all the way into the storm. There's your deep convection taking place in Florida, which is potentially some severe weather. The wind barbs that I've got are the 500 millibar wind barbs, and you can see maybe a little bit of a jet streak there, a little bit of a streak here. This secondary shortwave is going to come through tomorrow, and that is going to give the upper support for maybe a few more thunderstorms as we go. So let's real quick before we go, let's take one more look at the high resolution radar. And again, we're starting to see that rain just as quickly as it showed up, beginning to move out of the Charleston metro area now. We have another round of rain coming in behind it. This is going to cool your temperatures off. I typically call this sleeping rain. Might be a little early for sleeping, but certainly is going to be rather nice. Nothing too terribly crazy here, and we need it. We need it badly. The drought monitor is certainly has not been looking good across the area, to put it mildly. So we will take it. Are getting out of here. We'll zoom right in real quick, and we have a couple storm reports of wind gust on a mesonet about 40 miles an hour. These are non-thunderstorm wind gusts on these. A measured wind gust at a site on the, so that's interesting. Near this on the Stoner River, measured a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust as this got through. The weather flow station gusted to 44, and the Fort Sumter weather flow station gusted to 43. So again, we had some pretty good winds from these, but that's now getting through, and we're starting to see that temperature come down, and the winds come around to the, again, that's your range of the radar data. So yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on this over the next few days, and looking at, we're going to be kind of in a, some of this pattern is going to continue to be somewhat active. Again, the idea is that tomorrow is a decent chance of showers and thunderstorms, especially for the eastern half of South Carolina, where a few more severe thunderstorms could fire. Sunday, spectacular. Sunday looks great. We're actually going to have a couple nice days mixed in there Monday, Tuesday, and then next storm system approaches Tuesday night, Wednesday, and the cycle repeats. So again, it's March. This is what happens in March. These are March things, and it's nothing out of the ordinary for sure. So again, with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Usually my calls with James last 30 minutes. Unfortunately, we lost James as he drove through some bandwidth challenge places on his way home. So we're going to go ahead and call this stream good for now. But again, if you like what you see, if you're watching us for the first time, welcome. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. We do a weekly podcast every Wednesday, talking about all things Carolina weather, technology, science, space. People love the space launches. We stream space launches here as much as we can as well. So if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, thank you for coming back and thank you for watching us. So again, if something happens, we'll come back on. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and call it a stream. Have a good Friday evening, all of you out there in Weather World. I'm Jared Smith in Charleston, signing off for the Carolina Weather Group.